Our family was devastated. My dad hadn't slept at all that night, and he dared to even look my way. The guilt of this all being my fault stuck with me like a bead of fresh flowers. My mom couldn't stop crying, and it pained me to see her in such emotional distress. The day after my sister hadn't come back home, I didn't go to school. Even though it hadn't been 24 hours yet, there was a search party out for my sister, and I was part of it. I couldn't bear being at school knowing that my sister is somewhere out there alone because of me. Tristan had heard and decided to skip school and come with me as well. If I can count on anybody to be there, it would be him. There were about 20 people out there searching. We split up into pairs and covered each direction on every street near our house. Tristan and I stayed close by our house since we knew the area very well. We searched all around the neighborhood and couldn't find a trace of her. We went door to door asking if anyone had seen a little girl around the time she got back or later. Nobody could answer yes. We'd been out there for about 9 hours searching for her. Nobody turned up with anything. Tristan could see I was down, so in an effort to cheer me up, he says, "Hey look man, we're gonna find Tiny Tina, and she's gonna be fine. Don't be so down." "But it's all on me. If I would have just..." "Tyler, listen," he cuts me off. "The attitude isn't gonna help us find her any faster. Right now we just have to focus on figuring out where she could be." "But what if she ran away or somebody took her? I can't imagine what she's going through right now. My baby sister, all by herself. She's still afraid of the dark and the boogeyman. I can't even fathom how she feels out there." "I know it's tough, man. She's like a little sister to me as well. But I promise we'll make it through this together. And years later we'll be saying, 'Remember that time when Tiny Tina went missing and we searched for her all over town?' Thanks, man, for being there." His efforts to cheer me up had started to work. "Always," he says. Night had hit and the streetlights were on. We had been out there all day. No one had found Tina. Tristan and I circled to his house. He went inside for the day and I walked back home. I hadn't eaten that day because I couldn't. As soon as I got home, I went to my room and went right to sleep. The next morning was a Saturday. I got up early that day. I got into the shower, then ate breakfast, just some cereal. No one in the house had the energy to cook. My house felt like it was a library how quiet it was. We had all planned to continue searching for Tina all day. It had been 24 hours at that point, so a missing persons report was out. I go on my phone to call Tristan. After a few rings, he answers. "Hello?" I say. "Good morning, bro," he responds. "You plan on getting back to searching?" "Yeah, of course. I'll meet you at your house in 10. "Alright, bro." "Hey," Tristan says. "We'll find her today. I can feel it." My mom says they posted the missing person report on the local news, so other locals should be on the lookout as well. "Okay, Tristan. I'll be here waiting for you." The phone hangs up. To pass the time, I go sit on the front couch and look at the news on my phone. As I'm scrolling on the news app, I get a text from an unknown number. I open it and it reads, "Go to where children are meant to play, but are left without explanation." I texted them back with, "Who is this? How'd you get this number?" I was wondering why I kept getting these messages from unknown numbers. At the time, I thought nothing of it though. My mind was elsewhere. Before I knew it, Tristan was ringing the doorbell. I walked outside, handed him a bottle of water, then locked the door. We left the porch and started our adventure to find my baby sister. We had a plan that day. We decided that one of us would go out searching, while the other asked locals if they've seen a little girl in the past 2 days. Then we would switch every hour or so. We decided that I would go door to door first. We walked about 4 blocks down from my house, then we split up. I knocked on each door on 15th Street. After about 5 houses, I noticed a pattern. People either hadn't seen her or didn't care enough to see her. But that didn't stop me. I made sure that I went to each and every door. After about 45 minutes, I had knocked on about 25 doors. I called Tristan to see if he had any more luck than I did. Yo, any luck, bro? Nah, I walked all the way to 30th Street and I still haven't come up with anything. You? Nah, I knocked on about 4 blocks worth of doors. Nobody's seen anything. Alright, what street are you on? We can switch off. I'm on 20th and Gardner Street. Okay, walk up to about 26. We'll rendezvous there. Alright, see you. After we met, we decided to exchange the information we had so we didn't look in the same places twice. I decided to take a different route than Tristan. I had to get in the mind of my sister. I decided to look at all her favorite places. I went to the ice cream store first. I walked for about 7 minutes before I had arrived. I walked into the small ice cream shop. It looked like it was a family business, and it had a warm tone to it, despite it being an ice cream shop. A young girl around my age was at the counter. She was about 5'6", long dark hair and clear brown skin. "Welcome to Cones of Joy. How may I help you?" she says. "I'm actually not here to order anything. I came here in search of a girl." She starts blushing and says, "What does this girl look like?" "It's my little sister. She went missing about 2 days ago and always loved ice cream." I could see the joy in her body leave. "Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. What does she look like?" "She's about 4'2", long brown hair. She should have been wearing a blue skirt and a yellow bow in her hair." "I can't remember on the top of my head, but I can check the cameras for you." "Okay, thank you. Do you mind giving me your number so I could text you if we've seen her? It may take a while to look through 2 days of footage." "No, I don't. Do whatever it takes. Do you have something I can write it down with?" "You can just put it in my phone." I put my number in her phone. "What's your name?" she asked. "I'm Tyler." "My name's Alexia." "Okay, thank you so much, Alexia," I say on my way out. I was grateful to finally have someone help me out. My next stop was a toy store. Tina always loved to ask Dad to take her there on the weekends. It was one of her favorite spots to go around and shop. It was about a 30-minute walk from the ice cream shop. It didn't matter to me. I was prepared to walk until my shoes turned to dust. Then after that, until my feet were sanded so much by the ground that the only thing that remained were my ankles. I started my journey towards the toy store. It was in the opposite direction of where Tristan was, so I texted him and told him where I was going to be. About 10 minutes into my walk, I saw something strange. It was a stray cat. It was moaning loudly like something out of a horror movie. I thought it might have been hurt or something. I decided that I could go see what was going on really quickly. When I went to walk towards it, the cat ran down the block. I was just gonna let it be, then it started that wretched snarling again. I walked very slow towards it. Once I got about 2 arms length away from it, it ran to the next street. I was about to give up on the cat, because at that point it felt like I was just wasting time. Until I saw 2 more cats. I decided to see where they were coming from. I followed them for about a block and a half. They all ran towards this rundown abandoned playground that looked like it hadn't been used in years. I guess this is where all the strays stayed because it was the one part of town where people didn't really go. These strays were all over town. It's hard to get rid of them. I remember thinking how much Tina loved cats and how she wouldn't believe her if I told her what I just witnessed. She always wanted a cat, but Mom would never let her have one. My dad was allergic and she didn't think she was responsible enough to take care of it. That made me even more sad, but it also made me realize that I had to continue looking for her. As I'm turning around to start walking back towards the direction of the toy store, I see a little girl from the corner of my eye. I look closely and it's Tina. My heart started pounding out of my chest and I ran to her and scooped her up. I had a million questions to ask her, a million thoughts in my mind, but what came out of my mouth was silence. She looked terrible and smelled like a dog that had been rolling in grass. But none of that mattered. She was back, my baby sister. I was squeezing her so tight that I can feel each beat of her heart. I had lost the thing most precious to me and found it. I asked her if she was okay, and she just muttered, "I want to go home." I told her it was going to be okay, and we were going home soon. I called my mom and dad and told them I found Tina. They asked where I was and came to get me. While we were waiting, I gave Tina the last amount of water I had and asked if she had eaten anything. She said no and that she was hungry. At this point, we're sitting on the curb waiting for my parents. I asked her how she ended up on the other side of town. She told me that after school, she couldn't get in the house because the door was locked. She said that she was sitting on the porch eating her leftover snacks from lunch when a cat walked on the porch. She said the cat looked hungry and she gave it some of her graham crackers. Then the cat ran off the porch. Her being curious, she followed it. I guess the cat brought her all the way here to feed the other strays. She got lost and didn't know her way home, so she just stayed with the cats at the abandoned playground. I just reassured her that she was okay now and we were gonna go home and everything's gonna be fine. We sat there and I let her play with my phone until my parents pulled up. Once they got there, my dad leaped out of the car and ran to sweep Tina off her feet and grasped her tightly. My mom, with tears running down her eyes, ran up and hugged her almost tighter than my dad. And they just kept asking if she was okay and what happened. It was all too much for Tina, so she just started crying. My dad put her down and assured her that we'll get through this and everything will go back to normal. We got some takeout, and on the way home, I explained to my parents what happened. They both thought that it was such a thing that she would do. We go home and Tina was bathed and put to bed. That night, she slept in the bed with my parents. They went in her arms, reached for as long as they could keep her there. It was still hard for me to sleep. There was too much on my mind. I went to my messages to text Tristan about what happened when those two unknown text messages caught my attention. I reread them. The first one was sent the night before my sister went missing, and the second the day I found her. The first one was telling me to stay home. I remember thinking that if I had stayed home, she wouldn't have gone missing because I would have been there for her at the door. And the second saying, "Go to where children are meant to play," but I left without explanation. Then it started to make sense. Where children are meant to play. A playground is where children play, but are left without explanation, which describes being abandoned, like the abandoned playground I found her at. I thought maybe it was a coincidence at first, but it was too specific. I texted the unknown number again. "Who are you and what do you know about me?" No reply. So I just called the number. No ring. I decided to call again. No ring again. That was strange to me, but I decided to just get some rest and deal with it later.